Nothing? Shall we move?
Yes.
Next topic. Now we said prepared speeches 5 to 7 minutes, and they are prepared. You prepared them at home, right?
Yes.
Evaluations, on the other hand, are also semi-prepared. But what about the impromptu? How to prepare for table topics? Now, among us is one of the masters in preparing for table topics. But to add some little contribution from my side, see, one of the masters of the table topics. أعطينا نظرة هيك بس نظرة ابتسامة. So the thing is, some notes, some contributions, some of my ideas towards how to prepare for the impromptu. Doing lots of speeches is part of preparing for the impromptu. Okay? So speak, speak, speak. That's the number one preparation. This way you remove the stress. When you stand here to answer a question that you have no idea about, most of the stress is gone because of your experience in speaking, prepared speeches and evaluations. So that fear is somehow removed. So now we can move to focus on the question itself. You are asked a question. You are asked a question. Now repeating it verbally or in your mind is an important tool. I don't necessarily agree that you should repeat it verbally, but at least in the 5 seconds or 10 seconds when you are standing here thinking, repeat the question in your mind. Because once you repeat it, you break it down into a mind map. Okay? So you have a question. What do you think of XYZ?
Woman driving in Saudi Arabia.
Women driving Saudi Arabia. Okay. So you break down this question into the components X, Y, and Z. I'm not aware of Z. I've never been to Saudi Arabia. I cannot speak about Saudi Arabia. But I can talk about women and driving by reflecting on my experience elsewhere. See? The core of the question was Saudi Arabia. I have no idea about Saudi Arabia, laws and regulations, but I can talk about 2/2 or 2/3 of that question. So once you repeat the question, that's my second tip, once you repeat the question in your mind, break it down into the main components that come to mind. And you immediately decide which ones that you can speak about and which ones that you cannot. That's the second tip. A third tip would be having a personal story. As if you're changing the question, what if your mother, your sister, your wife, okay, a woman that relates to you, wants to drive your car in a country or in a place where it's hard to drive? Okay? Because remember, I don't know about the rules in Saudi Arabia. But I know it's a new topic, it's a hot issue. So you change the question, what if my wife wants to drive my new Lamborghini, because the old Lamborghini is in the maintenance shop, the new Lamborghini in the mountains, where roads are small and it's crowded. So I change the question to something that is, and I would start my speech by saying, last year, my wife wanted to drive my new car, not necessarily the Lamborghini. And being a good husband, I said, yeah, why not? 5 minutes after she leave the house, she called me and said, right across the corner, I had an accident. And that was disappointing for me. And then I can move on by building on the disappointment, building on the cost, building on the experience, and maybe reaching to a conclusion that she will never drive again. Or the next time I want her to drive, I will give her my Porsche, my old Porsche. Not the classic one, the one in between. So this way, when you change the question to something that relates to you directly, okay? So the question to me became, what if your wife asked you to drive your new car to go get some stuff in a crowded Thursday? Another tip, have a wealth of quotes. Seriously, don't volunteer to be an impromptu speaker if you are empty from inside, if you don't read books, if you don't have general knowledge. People, it will show. You will end up like Beavis and Butthead. You know Beavis and Butthead from MTV? This topic is, it's like cool. I like. It will show that you don't have substance, you don't have content. But once you have a famous quote, you read to somebody, you follow the footsteps of a famous leader, or you read famous quotes to somebody, you can utilize some of those in your speech. Not the very first, if you're lucky you can use it, you can start your speech with it. But if not, once you start with a personal story and add these quotes, it puts strength, it adds strength to your speech. So try to memorize certain quotes, ideas. When you read them, we receive lots of quotes by email, by messages. Keep those handy, because you will be using those. Just like when I used flailing to plan is like planning to fail. بالآخر بكون مثل صيني. صح؟ Chinese proverb. There are so many Chinese proverbs. The most quotable person in quotes is that person named Anonymous.
Anonymous, yes.
عبد اللطيف Anonymous هذا عنده كثير شغلات. So, any more tips to prepare for the impromptu? Repeat the question in your mind. Personalize the question. Have a wealth of quotes. Before that, speak. So you have the fear removed. End with a call of action. I always like it in table topics when people end. So after that, do you think we should give women our new cars to drive?
No.
And then you will hear, no, yes, boo, you. Lots of sense. You involve all this. Yes?
What if I don't have a personal story to that quote or proverb? Do you think it's a good idea to lie, to come up with a story?
Nobody knows you are there.
سامحني يا رب. Okay. Now, there are certain saying that when you tell a joke, if you say, one time there was a person who did so and so, and it's a joke and people laugh, they say it's stronger if you personalize it. I have a cousin, وكلنا cousin في هذا الكون الممتد. كلنا cousins. I have a cousin who once did so and so. So you personalize the joke, but it became more personal to you. Now what you should do, not necessarily lie, but don't give all the details. So instead, I have a cousin who gave his wife his new Ferrari, and this is what happened. I have a neighbor. وكل neighbors في العالم يعني لو إياكم. So a neighbor, a cousin, try to personalize it in a way that is relevant to us, so that we can stand in your feet and look with your own eyes. You build the picture for us. And of course you develop some skills of, while I was sitting relaxed on a Friday afternoon, watching a very nice movie, living in my own silent mode, my wife comes to me and pops the question, honey, can I do so? So you throw the picture for us. You don't mention it quickly. You build on building that image. There's a word called picturesque. It's an art movement, picture. So it's a picturesque approach of building this set for us, and we can imagine it. It gives strength to your speech. Other questions, or shall we move to the next?